Hi, in this video we learn the skill to collaborate effectively and get results. So the first thing you want to do as a boss, if you want to have the culture of collaboration in your team, is to stop telling people what to do. Just stop. Don't be direct all the time, even most of the time. Sometimes you would want to be direct, but not most of the times because it kills creativity of people, and there are better ways to harness all of the intelligent people in your team rather than just your intelligent brain. So Kim in this book shares a really good framework for collaboration, and if we use this framework and if we took this time to go through each of these steps while we collaborate, we will get results that are much bigger than what we could achieve individually. As a leader, our role is to explain why we are doing what we're doing, show the goal and as to why that goal is important for us to achieve, encourage people to use this framework to better the ideas. So let's go through what are the steps in collaborating effectively to get results. First step is to listen. As a boss and as a team, you would want to have the culture where everyone listens to everyone else. Make sure everyone has the voice. Everyone is empowered to speak. When they speak, they're listened fully. You could listen as a boss in two different ways based on your style. You could listen as a quiet listener, wherein you're giving them the opportunity to speak, assuming your team members are giving you the input. And when you listen with a very neutral pose. You are engaged fully. You're listening and not with the intention to respond back. That's quiet listening. The other way to listen is loud listening, in which, in loud listening, you come up with a very strong point of view as a boss and you put it up across the team as your opinion, and ask everyone to poke holes and ask everyone to respond or challenge your point of view. Once you have a very strong opinion, most likely if your team members are not involved in giving you the input or speaking up, most likely some of them will start speaking up. But there is this balance because only the most verbose people will start speaking up first. You don't want just to listen to them. You want everyone to say things, and you do that by being mindful of the culture where you are. Every company does it differently in terms of what their style is. If you look at Google, how chaotic it is versus Apple, how directive it is, very, very different. So the listening styles are also very different. So you'd have to adapt. So find out what style works for you as a boss. Is it quiet listening? Is it loud listening? And use it to empower everyone in your team to speak up. Second step, clarify. Any idea that you come up with that you want to get into action, you would want to make sure that that idea has been clarified. You should ask for clarity, precision in every idea. For example, let's say your team wants to go for an offsite. Well, you should listen. That's the first step. If you want to collaborate as a team and you want to get results of actually having an offsite, you should listen. After you've listened, you should clarify. Give them the space, the safe space to clarify, make the ideas more clear, eliminate what is not useful, emphasize what is useful, and to be really getting to the point, you have to clarify, not just clearly understand the idea, but also the person and the intention. So clarify. That's the second step. Third step is to debate. Encourage strong debates. As a leader, you should take both sides and switch roles to debate on one point of view versus the second point of view. There could be two different ways to go for this offsite. There could be so different many ways of actually migrating to some framework. So many different ways. Encourage a healthy debate. This will help you harden the idea. It will help you clarify the purpose as to what are we actually trying to do, and the first two steps have to be there even during debating. When you're debating, you're listening and also clarifying all the time. You're getting to the next level of detail. And keep the conversation in the debate grounded on facts and not on the egos. When you do that, you are setting it up for success because now you have facts that you're talking about. And if you think that the debate's going on too long, then pause and come up with the date as to by which you will decide. So skip the deciding with the debating in a very separate step. And again, the pro tip is if you feel you want to really understand the other person's side, debate it from the other person's angle and you'll get much better clarity. Next step is to decide. Once you have clarified, once you've debated, you have many options, you need to find out who's going to decide. A decision needs to happen by a specific date, and there should be a timeline that you should ask for as a boss. And the decision should be very clear as to what is it that we are trying to do, why is it the best option, and what are the measurable ways to find out it's the right option or that whatever we did is the right thing. Make sure you talk to everyone before you make the decision. And don't be the decider as a boss all the time. Make sure you only have to decide a few times, otherwise you are the bottleneck. Critical decisions, yes, sure, you could be the decider. But empower other people in your team to decide. And as a boss, go into the detail of every little thing. Intimately understand your code, your framework, what work your team does. If you do that, they'll not only feel empowered because now all of a sudden you care about the work that they do, you've been thinking about some of the details, but they'll be interested in supporting your decision. After you've decided, or the person in your team who you've delegated has decided, now the big step forward is to persuade. And when we have to persuade, there are 3 things that are needed to persuade someone. You have to handle the emotion of the person that's being persuaded as step 1. You have to know what does it mean for them emotionally. If it's for the team, if you say, no, we're not going to go to the offsite, that's an emotional problem because they all were emotionally excited about this idea. So understand the emotion of the person you're trying to persuade. Make sure the person who's trying to persuade has credibility in what they are saying. And also credibility in themselves. Like, make sure the person who's deciding is actually credible. They have the full details, they have done the homework, and they have the past record, hopefully, of making good decisions. They're using data. And the third thing is make sure that when you persuade, that you use logic to explain how you came to this decision. And if the leader or the person making a decision does these 3 things, which takes care of the person whom he or she's trying to persuade, is credible but also humble by using the terms we instead of I made the decision. It's like we. So credibility with humility, logic as to how you did what you did, how you came up to this conclusion, and that it all makes sense. If you do all of this, then you have a high chance of persuading the other person. Next step, you persuaded everyone. Boom. Now it's time to go and execute. You need to think about timelines. You need to think about how you're going to collaborate. But as a leader, you always have to be mindful on reducing the collaboration tax with meetings with your people. Even in your one-on-one, you should ask people to come up with a list of things that they want you to discuss or the problems that they want you as a leader to solve. Minimize collaboration tax because execution is the key. When you're executing, you're working. You're not constantly talking and wasting time and getting people up to speed. That should be done before, right? So don't ever go to the meeting where there's no agenda. That's a bare minimum that you could do while you're executing. When you're executing, you're focused. As a leader, you only have credibility if you can personally also execute. So you have to balance how you lead versus execute yourself. You have to be able to go into the details of the code. You have to be able to fix issues if there are issues that come up. And only then can you really hold the high bar on execution. Like if your team member tells you a timeline, if you really don't understand, you cannot hold a high bar of execution. So block some time for your personal execution. Figure out how you're going to stay current. As an engineering leader, you got to be doing engineering work, not just leading and doing the pep talk. That doesn't cut it. Finally, you've executed, you finished the work. There's got to be a lot of learning. Either you hit it out of the park, most of the times, then you have learned from the success of the project. But if you have failed, that's also a good way to learn. You are learning independent of whether you're successful or not, but be intellectually honest all the time. Figure out what were the original plans, look at the results, the measurable results, and see if there's a gap. If you change your mind in between, be honest that you messed up, or the project is successful in this way, but that was not the intended consequence. So start off with a retrospective every time you finished execution. So learn, and then repeat this collaboration framework to get results that are much bigger and better results. At the end of it, there's this last pro tip I wanted to share. It's going to be a lot of work. Independent of how hard you work, there's going to be a lot of work. Take care of yourself. If you're not going to take care of yourself, you're going to be burning out. You're not going to be mentally tough. You're not going to be able to do things sustainably over a long period of time. You got to take care of yourself physically. Your body needs to be healthy. Your mind needs to be poised, relaxed. Only then can you think clearly. And so you need some time to think clearly and take care of yourself. So block off time. Block off time. Block off time. Thanks.